So, hi, hello, welcome to the Popida podcast. Today we're with Jeremy, who was the writer for Hard Drive, and he's a comedian. And before I go on to actually introduce you, I want to ask you to introduce yourself in a manner that you haven't before, or in a manner that would be very true to yourself.
Very true to myself.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll say I'm Jeremy, and right now I'm unemployed as fuck, you guys. I'm doing almost nothing over here. So that's how I'll introduce myself in a way that I've never done before.
Yeah,
Let's
an
see.
unemployed guy, basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
You got a big house behind you.
Well, it's a green screen, so
Oh, nice.
it's the Wayne's World basement, if you've ever seen that
Uh,
movie.
Ooh, hell yeah. So, first of all,
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, um, let's just like get a bit of context behind like what's your history with like games and how do you connect with games and what games have you played and what led you to making a thing that's related to games. So,
Sure.
there are many questions to this, but the first one is, what were the games that you played growing up which made you fascinated with games?
I'm trying to think. My favorite games growing up were like probably Halo. I was a big Halo
Hell
kid.
yeah, you.
Yeah.
I think you're the kind of person who's said problematic things on very problematic things on Xbox.
No,
So
I never did that, but I did a similar thing, which
sure,
was
we'll
like
believe you. Yeah,
I would play loud music over my mic to bother people. I was
that's
annoying, but I never
almost
racist or
same.
anything. Yeah.
That's yeah, just like the
No, I was
loudest voice you've ever heard on like world.
yes, yeah. I was like the annoying kid where like if you logged in, you just
Oh,
hear
so
like
like if anyone, yeah, exactly. If anyone threw even a little bit, and if anyone just not playing well, you just be like
yeah,
full volume
exactly.
songs.
I had a
What
friend
are
who
the
was really
games?
good. What other games? I loved Tetris as a kid. I was big into playing
Ooh.
Tetris like in school during
I
classes.
am the number one Tetris player in the city that we are in. So I'm the god.
Really?
Yeah,
That's pretty cool.
yeah, exactly. What are the games? Tetris and
I was big into Portal 2 was my favorite game as a kid. I love that game. Do you guys play Portal
lovely.
ever? No?
I've played Portal. I'm the only gamer here, so like we'll get into things that aren't games, but this is just me asking you and like building a rapport with you as a gamer.
Sure, of
So
course. Yeah.
yeah.
right. So I
Um.
wanted to ask you about how you got into like how politics interested you over the years. So there's a
Hmm.
quote your company on an article by Vice.
Mm,
It says it has been important to us to be unapologetically left wing when we
sure.
get into politics or social issues at all. So what does that mean?
Well, I think a lot of like video game culture is very right wing, especially back when we said that there was like the big Gamergate thing where like it was kind of just known that like if you're we had this character who for a while called Ace Watkins who was like running for
Yeah.
president as a gamer, and every time we told people about it when we started, they're like, "Oh, is he gonna like be racist?" And we're like, "No, that's fucking crazy." So that was really it. It was just like it wasn't so much political as much as it was like anytime we're going to talk about like politics or social issues, we're going to make sure that we actually the joke isn't just that it's like ironically bad or that like it's coming from a right wing angle. We wanted to make sure that it was like I don't know, like saying stuff that we genuinely believed in. Does that make sense?
So it was more of a social movement for you rather than comedy. If I
Um, I would say it's more comedy than anything else, but if we were going to comment on the social movement, we wanted to make sure that we were attacking the right targets. You
All
know what I
right.
mean?
And when you say that most gaming, like the majority of the gaming community was right wing or perhaps
Hmm.
is right wing, what do you mean by that?
I don't think it's necessarily the majority, but I think that like when people think of like gaming and politics, they think of like guys complaining that they're making video games woke by putting
Hmm.
women
Yeah.
in them and stuff like that. Like it's I don't know if it's even political so much as it's just like I don't know, it's like a sort of conservative the vocal minority of video game people online is like a conservative movement. I mean, even right now there's that new game with like the anime girls where they like they removed the cleavage on one of the like sexy anime
Yeah,
girls,
yeah, yeah.
and all these people are mad that it's like censorship of like
The
I don't even know
entire
what.
I saw this one tweet where it was like very old tweet. It was like atomic hearts girls are the pinnacle of femininity, and I saw you also retweeted that, which is like two sex dolls are the pinnacle of
Yeah,
femininity to you guys.
yeah,
So
to these guys who've
yeah,
never like
exactly.
seen a woman before.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so and like
makes sense.
there's also been like
Which is majority of gamers.
Yeah,
yeah,
probably.
probably. It's a yeah,
Yeah.
like there's also been like many debates on there's gonna be an incel revolution, like the
Yeah.
dating culture nowadays. It's just gonna be it's gonna pivot to a point where there's gonna be an incel revolution, especially in America, especially in places where people are majority online. Like so,
Yeah.
what do you think about that? Isn't that interesting though?
The incels online.
No, the incel revolution, like people actually genuinely believe there's gonna be an incel revolution.
I mean, we
Oh,
saw a video online where a guy was for continuously for
Yeah,
2 hours. He was debating why, and he was proving why there would be an
yeah,
incel revolution, right?
I
Yeah.
don't think
and
I've heard of that specifically. Like they think that like the incels are gonna like rise up or
yeah,
something.
yeah, yeah,
Well,
Yeah,
hey,
exactly.
yeah,
more
that's not
power
even a
to
joke.
them.
Yeah,
I say
exactly.
this. I think I could blend in if I have to. Like I just take off my wedding ring
I
and like no
mean,
one knows the difference. And I'm just like, I'm one of you guys. They're too
hey,
mean,
don't
these
don't don't kill me,
girls.
don't kill me.
Uh, and
Yeah,
one thing that I wanted to ask you was basically we come with this extremity about satire and about this political questions because in India, where we are from, Vanch is in London right now, but the three of us are in India currently. So it's really tough to say ki we are from an organization that's completely left wing, that's completely left liberal, or to do satire in its all sense, even on internet, even on Instagram, it's very tough. So how's it like there? Like what's
I
the
mean,
process? What's the whole thing?
to be clear, if I were to write the bio of our channel, I would say we are left wing or the
yeah,
left.
but the thing is
I
that
would
in
say that.
saying that,
Right?
we
Yeah,
act
Yeah,
as a notification for people to just like actually just attack us. Like, oh, here's a notification, guys. We are left
Uh,
wing.
yeah.
Right.
So yeah,
and not
and I
just an
mean,
online attack, right? It's like it's a physical
yeah,
attack. It's a physical
Yeah.
threat to all of us, to
sometimes
all our
it's a
families.
physical attack.
Sometimes.
Not even
Uh,
sometimes.
and
It's
if you
like very
put that
common.
like, there's always a threat of like even getting arrested, getting FIR. So
uh,
I mean, what's it like there?
yes.
Um, I mean, in the U.S., you can kind of just do whatever. I don't think there's ever been a physical issue. I have a friend who's a comedian who made a joke about like killing cops online, and the FBI showed up at his apartment. But that's like the most physical thing I can think that's happened. For most people, I mean, you can kind of just say whatever you want online. I know, like in the UK, there was all those people who got in trouble for like making fun of J.K. Rowling,
Yeah,
but because the UK has like such strict speech laws. But
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
so the one thing about the US is like you can literally say anything. I mean, to the point where people, march down the streets in like fucking Nazi outfits. But on the other hand, I can make a little joke about how Master Chief could shoot the president or something. I don't know. Like
yeah,
it's you could kind of do whatever you want in the US. It's pretty crazy.
yeah.
But
Like there was a
yeah.
person in a Zionist protest who was wearing a Star Trooper mask, and he was like, "The
Yeah.
Empire did nothing wrong."
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly. Yeah.
truly the land of the free, basically.
Yeah, where George Lucas, who made those movies, was like the
Yeah,
Empire is Hitler.
yeah, exactly.
He was like not subtle about it. He was like
Yeah,
the
exactly.
Ewoks are
And he refuses
Vietnam.
to comment on what he means by the Empire did nothing wrong. He just
Yeah,
showed
that's
up. So
crazy.
that's crazy. That's actually much better than what we have in India.
Yeah, yeah, that's probably true. That's like the one good thing about the U.S. is that you can say
Yeah,
anything,
you
but
can
there's
just
pros and
say whatever you
cons.
want, but the thing is that in India, you can actually just say whatever you want. You just have to be ready for the repercussions of it, which is gonna be very extreme in many cases.
Yeah, it's intense.
Yeah. Wanted to ask you. I know. I think Arav has something to say. Wait a minute.
I mean, I wanted to ask you that what do you think of satire as a means of resistance or protest? Do you think it's a very efficient means to resist the system?
I don't think I do. I think if you want to genuinely, um, if you're doing like genuine protests, I think that it's probably, more important to do like real life organizing. Like right now in the US, like people are protesting against, Israel and stuff like that. And I can't imagine that like me making a snarky tweet matters even like 0.1% as much as just like going to a protest. I think those are probably. I think people like to kid themselves and think that like maybe it's different in India, but in the U.S. like I think it just isn't. It isn't as real as going to like an actual thing and organizing with people and joining organizations and stuff like that.
Because you're
Hmm.
free to say anything, right? For
Yeah.
us to protest, satire is
Yes.
the only way that we can
Yeah,
protest
Yeah.
against the government, right? So for us, it's very important.
Because
Uh,
because the leaders are too dumb to understand satire, right? So
yeah,
it's for us, the smart move is to write something that they don't comprehend, that they cannot just fathom, and just in their face.
yeah,
And that's
No,
the
I think
same
that's
with the
true.
UK. Yeah, yeah, and that's the same. That's kind of similar to the UK as well, where the humor is so layered and so smart that you can't have anything against it. Rather
Yeah.
than the US, where the humor is so straight. Like if you wanna, if you say you're gonna shoot the president, that is the joke.
message
So you
gets
can't say
translated
that. You
correctly.
can't. Yeah,
Yeah,
but those exact words cannot be in use in India or in the UK.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
I think
mm,
that makes a lot of sense. That it is more important when you're trying to get your message out.
definitely.
Um,
uh,
American comedy is dumb as fuck. You're 100% right about that.
Yeah,
It can
Hmm.
get you,
exactly.
especially with like internet stuff. You have to be so straightforward, or else people just
uh,
won't know what you're saying. It's
Yeah.
insane.
mm.
And
And
in
also because we are talking about comedy, do you do
yeah,
you do you have any comedy recommendation, any stand-up recommendations that you want to give that people should watch, that everyone in the
Ah,
field of
sure.
comedy or everyone who likes comedy should watch, like top of the mind, necessary comedy specials that you think everyone should
Um,
watch?
sure. I really liked Rory Scovel's new special on HBO Max. It's called like
Okay.
Sex, Religion, and Everything in Between or something like that. I think
Uh,
Maria Bamford is really underrated. If you've ever seen her, she's like one of the best to ever do it. She has a new special out. I haven't seen it, but I saw her perform live recently, so
mm,
I imagine it's similar, and that's
mm,
really good. Yeah,
mm.
those are the two. Those are two underrated comedians who, I mean, are much more famous than I am, but everyone should watch them.
nice.
Nice.
I wanted to
Crazy.
ask you on internet culture, like the slowly the internet culture or like the mainstream culture is devolving into what's being called brain rot, and
Hmm.
especially in America, especially with smaller like people of smaller age and younger demographics, like things such as Skibby Toilet being reviewed by Matt Pat and things like that, like things of that similarity. What do you think about that? What do you think that's going?
I think that the internet's definitely like melting our brains a little bit. Like we're all addicted to social media and like it's so fast and intense and colorful. Like that's definitely not good. I do think like the skibidi toilet thing is like
Yeah.
I mean when I was a kid, we definitely had as stupid things. Like I'm trying to think of like what I was in. Like people there used to,
Yeah,
you know, there
I
was
had my MLG. I can relate with this guys, but like
yeah.
yeah.
We had like Mudkip and I'm
Ooh,
firing my laser and shit like that. Like I can't imagine that's
oh
any
my god.
dumber than Skivity Toilet. But I do think that it's just probably bad that we're all like TikTok is an awful app. Whenever I go on TikTok, I feel like worse, like physically and emotionally worse after just scrolling through TikTok for like 20 minutes.
Good to
So I
live in
can't
a
blame
place where
that.
it's banned. But the
There you go.
Instagram
Yeah.
reels are
Hey.
but like
Yeah. You have the
and
same
YouTube
stuff
shorts,
though.
however, also don't help. So yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
Hmm.
Exactly. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like whenever I had this thought recently that like I have all of my best creative ideas in the shower and right before I fall asleep, and I was thinking like those are just the two times I physically can't have my phone, and that is
Yeah.
why I'm having creative thoughts,
Ooh.
which is like so dumb. I should just like
Yeah.
lock my phone away in a cage.
Yeah, exactly. Like people feel nowadays very like ensnared with the internet, and especially like with things that are actually designed to ensnare you into the internet. So yeah.
Yeah.
You can't even take a shit without a phone. That's the toughest part. That's the
Yeah,
toughest feeling.
yeah,
That's,
exactly.
yeah, those 10 minutes on the seat is like the
No, I mean
toughest
like you
time
just
you
take
have
your
to
phone with you
spend now.
then. That's
Yeah,
what I
no,
do. That's
because
what
if you
almost
don't
people
if you
most
don't
people.
take your phone with you, you gotta think.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
awful.
Yeah, it is
And
awful.
that's tough,
Yeah.
you know.
Fucking hurts.
Yeah.
Don't do it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You
Don't
ever
get
realize
mad.
like you like forgot your headphones when you're going somewhere and you're just
Oh
like,
my
Yeah,
what
God.
am I gonna
yeah,
do?
Yeah.
Oh my
I
God.
yeah,
I
just have to like
can.
look at people.
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
When we are in the bus or in the train, just commuting somewhere, and I forgot
Bring
my
small
headphones.
talk back. Like,
Yeah, I'm just
we guys need
looking
it.
at people.
It's a
Yeah,
disaster. You have to think
it
stuff.
is.
Who wants
It
to
is.
do that?
Do you think internet is also like desensitized people? Like I was looking at this article once, and it says that because people are so exposed to all this news, especially like related to what's happening in Gaza, that if say this was happening in some other time, a genocide would like if people knew so obvious that there's a genocide going on, they would be more affected by it than they are now. So do you think
Uh,
that's got to something with the exposure?
I think it's probably true that we're all desensitized to violence to some extent, but also like I don't know about how it is in India, but with Gaza in the US, like this is the first time that people have been so pro Palestine that I've seen at
Mm.
least like in my I come from a predominantly Jewish area, so like a lot of people I knew growing up were just like staunchly pro-Israel their whole lives. And I've been the annoying contrarian, like arguing with people since I was a kid about Israel. But like now
Mm.
that people are seeing just like the most horrific things that you could see, it's like bad for our brains, I think. But like it is good in the sense that like people are it's undeniable. Like it's you'd have to be so villainous to see
Mm.
that stuff and not think it is like a I don't know, just such a crime. So I think that's a good thing, and a good I mean, relatively obviously it's like saying that
Yeah.
like mass destruction is a good thing feels insane, but it is like it is radicalizing people at least to the point where like
Mm.
they actually see what is happening and it's like it's just undeniably evil.
Yeah, no,
Mm.
even in I attended one of the protests in London, which was like one of the world's biggest protests ever. There was 650,000 people gathered on Trafalgar Square to support Palestine, and that was insane because I had never seen anything of that scale for any issue
Yeah.
ever in the world. And
Mm.
how this has, and even in the US, there's been at university campuses, they are.
Like Colombia.
Was it
Yeah.
in the US or was it uh, in Montreal in McGill, where they were changing the names of the buildings by putting on cities of Palestine
Yeah.
on the nameplates, so
Yeah.
that they remember every time they walk in the building, they remember that this is the name of the building. Yeah,
That's cool.
and it was in the US where some radical, some senator, Republican senators said on television that we should have the National Guard mobilized in Columbia University and New
Yeah.
York
Exactly.
University to remind students of their place is
Yeah,
what they said.
exactly.
Mm.
Yeah, it's fucked up. It's shit's getting crazy. I
Yes.
mean, it's
But
not nearly
when
as
you
crazy as
see,
it is in Palestine, but
look, as a comedian, as an observer, and as a citizen, when you see such things happening in the world, I mean, you you know, what do you think? Like, what's your initial thought? Like, I think you see humor in it for
mhm.
sure, but at the same time, you also have to be sensitive about the issue as well, right? So how does that work?
Yeah, I mean, it's a tricky thing. You don't want to make jokes about like mass death, because it's, I don't know, it's not, at the very least, it won't be received
But
well. And it's,
there would be some really good jokes coming out of that, I
there
mean,
certainly are. I
yeah,
mean, the
yeah,
responses are the things that I would want to make fun of.
yeah,
There's been a bunch of nut job Americans. There was that woman recently who, in Colombia, she went to the protest and she wore a T-shirt where she wrote Jew on her front and was like, I don't care if I get
Mm.
attacked. And then like no one cared, and there was like a big Jews for Palestine sign behind her, and she
Yeah.
just
yeah,
is shouting like, I'm Jewish. I don't care if you hit me, and like no one cares. That was very funny.
Mm.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, I'll say this about the speech thing. People are definitely like, I think it's less of a problem now, but people were losing jobs in like entertainment for speaking out against
Mm.
Israel for a bit, which is nutty. Whereas people who are pro-Israel, like, you know, are fucking dumb celebrities like Brett Gelman or like Amy Schumer or something, like no one really cares. So that is something you have to take into consideration. But I do think that that's not that important ultimately, and it seems like the tide is turning a little bit for that kind of stuff, at least here.
So are you saying that like there has been more like there has been a radical switch in the comedy industry? Like people are calling like punching up more than they
I
were
th-
before?
I think people are just in general that the horrors going on in Palestine have reached such a level that like you people are even people who were pro Israel in on October 7th are now like this has to end. This is
Yeah.
craziness. So that is I guess good. It's just it's so hard to call it good when it's just like the reason is that it's been like unmatched horror. But yeah, people. I mean, I know people like I said, like I know a lot. I grew up in like a mostly Jewish area, so like I know a lot of people who are pro-Israel, and not even like in an evil way. I mean, it is evil, but it's like they were just uninformed, like they don't know what's going
Yeah,
on.
exactly.
And now people are just so informed as to like how terrible it is that they've most of those people have switched over and are like, this is bad. Which like I said, is I guess good.
Social
Also, what
media
do you think about the
plays.
punch up, punch down debate?
Oh, yeah.
The punch up, punch down. I think it's like a silly thing to define, although I do think it's important to like think of what you're making fun of when you make fun of it. Like I think that's a good rule in general is like if you're gonna make fun of something, like you should know what it is you're saying. Like I've gotten in trouble for making jokes online, and I sometimes I feel bad about it because I'm like, yeah, I don't know what I'm even saying here. And sometimes I'm like, no, I think that I would stand behind the point that I was making, so it's okay if people are mad at me about it. But I don't know if I don't know if it's as strict as like up and down as much as it's just like you should know what you're making fun of, and you should know what you're trying
Hmm.
to say and what the subtext of your joke is, whether it's comedy or anything.
So how is what does your process entail in writing a joke? Like what's the journey of your joke?
Honestly, what I do for like my stand up and my writing is I don't generally sit down and like think of like what something to write about. For the most part, I just talk to my friends about stuff and like I'll be hanging out with a friend, we're talking about news or pop culture or politics. And if I say something that feels like there could be something funny or interesting, I just write it down on my phone. And then I have a big list of like things that are like half ideas. Like in my phone right now, I have like 10 things where I'm like, this isn't a joke or an idea, but it's like, it's just a sentence or a kernel. And then
What be
eventually,
one of the examples of such ideas, like some such half-baked ideas?
uh, let me look at my phone to see what I have
Yeah.
in my, um, let's see. I have something in my phone that's like, do you guys have like Uber in
Yeah, yeah, we
India?
do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
In
That's the
in
most, that's the most post-work question I've heard from someone who lives in the US. Do you guys
just
have
making
Uber
sure.
in India? Do you guys speak English by any chance?
Well, I don't
Just,
know. You guys don't have TikTok. It could be a different name or something.
yeah.
But
In
yeah.
the Uber drivers in New York City are generally they're not like the safest thing because Uber
Oh,
drivers are
therefore
like
there's all of
completely
this
overworked.
fucking like Uber driver clips where people are just like use this as a phone call to like,
Yeah.
and it's just like, hey babe, send me your look. Yeah, exactly. So
Um,
go on.
I think it's probably the fault of Uber, the company, because these
Yeah,
people are
fair.
like completely overworked to the point where they just have to like pee in fucking water bottles to, survive. But I've been trying to write something about like how taking an Uber sometimes feels like playing Russian roulette because my mom recently was in an Uber and the Uber driver fell asleep and she had to wake up her driver. It's just like the scariest thing. And that's
Mm.
not like a funny joke, but
Mid
maybe
mid
eventually.
drive, he fell asleep.
The driver, yeah, mid drive fell asleep.
My God.
It was so
Okay.
scary.
Oh my
Yeah.
Um,
God.
yeah,
Hilarious.
she offered to drive the rest of the way for him, which would have been weird, but he refused.
Did he fall asleep again?
No, he did not fall
Okay.
asleep again. He was on his
Good,
best
good. Thank
behavior
God.
after that. So yeah, that's the kind of thing. I'm trying to see what else is in my phone.
Do you guys have McDonald's in the US?
My God.
I was just trying to make sure because we have Lyft. Do you guys have Lyft also? Because it's just
And
like
we
there's all
have
these fucking companies.
I mean, yeah, yeah, fair enough, fair enough. We have Rapido, which is like Lyft.
We
We
have
don't have that
Ola.
one. We don't
There's
have
this
that
app
one.
called Ola.
There's an
What's
app
that?
called Ola. It's
That's
Ola.
the
It's
Indian
Uber,
Uber
but it's
basically.
Indian.
Oh,
Yeah.
well. Sounds like Jeremy was
Yeah.
exactly right on this to
No,
make
but we
sure
do
that the
also have
name was the
Uber
thing.
India,
Yeah,
right?
We
exactly.
also have Uber.
I
It's a
was in
Uber.
Spain recently, and Uber is like banned in a bunch of cities in Spain.
Oh yeah, okay.
Um, yeah, but I know that everyone has McDonald's.
With such proud, you say everywhere there is McDonald's.
Yeah, right. We've brought it
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. It's your
The
staple food now.
monoculture.
It's your staple food. Exactly.
McDonald's
But
is so fucking
there's none in
gross.
Palestine,
Yeah,
though.
exactly.
Is that true?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, there's nothing in no.
Yeah,
There's a
probably makes
McDonald's
sense.
in Ramallah, I've heard,
Hmm.
but that's the West Bank. But there's nothing in Gaza.
I mean,
I
yeah, that
mean,
makes sense.
Does
I
make
mean,
sense.
If there
maybe there
was,
will be.
Israel would have bombed it by now anyway.
Yeah,
I just said maybe there
they
will be.
wouldn't
So
do that. An
If
attack
there
on a
were.
McDonald's franchise is an attack on the United States of America.
That's true,
That's
it's
one
yeah.
of the
it's like
clauses.
it's like the embassy
Yeah,
law, own the
that's one
land.
of the yeah. That's one of the clauses of NATO. If you read it,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Joe Biden would
They just
immediately call
Trump just amended
Netanyahu.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
Trump amended it while he was in office. He was like, we need to make sure that every McDonald's in the world is protected by U.S. Army.
I am very curious. What are your thoughts on Joe Biden, Sleepy Joe?
I'm not a huge Joe Biden fan, I guess. I mean, like people are right that he's better than Trump, but I mean, it doesn't matter. I live in New York, so like my vote doesn't really matter because we vote Democrat every single time.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I get to freely be like Joe Biden sucks and I don't like him, and I don't have to think
Mm.
about who I would vote for because I'm just not going to.
Fair.
Oh. Also, a lot of like American leftists, there's a huge discourse about not going to vote. You
Hmm.
think that will affect the elections a lot? Do you think that
Not
might
where I
make
live.
people
I
not
mean,
vote?
maybe in other places it could.
Hmm.
It doesn't matter in New York State because of our system of the Electoral College, so it just doesn't really matter. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, people have to do that math on their own if they should vote for Biden or vote for Trump. I guess like the question is like people want to. I mean, it's so early. The election isn't for what 7 months, so like
Mm.
people feel like they can push Biden to the left if they say like I'm not going to vote for you, and 50,000 people countrywide aren't going to vote for you in important places unless you insist upon Netanyahu ending the slaughter, and they want to see if Biden will do that calculation and think, all right, well, I'm going to lose this election if I don't do that. I don't know if it'll work or not, but I mean like I said, I don't even have to really.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter where I live. It's if New York State goes red, if New York State votes for Trump, then that means that Trump won every single state. So like
Ooh.
it literally just doesn't matter where I live.
Fair. Like the funniest thing
Is it
about
true?
that, the thing that I was
Yeah,
thinking,
is it true that Trump has really high chances of winning this election?
I don't think anyone knows. I think anyone who claims that they know who's going to win the election is wrong. I mean, one of them could fucking die before the election. Like they're
yeah,
both like 100
exactly.
years old. So I
Yeah.
don't think anyone knows. It's probably like a coin flip at this point. He could
And
win. He certainly could.
we were just mentioning about shooting the president anyways.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. The thing about that, what I found funny is that where I live in Gujarat, there's a there's a city called Surat, and there the elections just didn't fucking happen. The elections
Yeah.
just started in India for context, and the thing is that they already have a CM, a chief minister,
Uh,
without voting, without polls, because they just sold out the other candidates, or just like threats of mob violence on the other candidates, and there's just no competition.
That's crazy. Yeah, I mean, it's obviously that's much worse than our
Yeah,
system,
exactly.
but ours is just stupid. Like it's not like it's so much evil as it is like it's just dumb that we do it that way where it's not based on it should just be based on like votes, like literally the vote numbers. Whoever has the highest votes wins. I mean, if it's mob violence, that's also
hmm.
that is
Yeah,
worse.
yeah, that is
But
much worse.
yeah.
And it's the world's largest ever general election happening in India.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
It's over
Yeah.
970 million registered voters,
That's fucking crazy.
And still,
which is
like,
three Americas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And wouldn't that be a horrifying idea? 3
Oh my
Americas.
God. Yeah, exactly.
If we tripled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about the Hamlet Factory and
Sure.
that came to be.
That was a little cartoon that I made with my friend Phil Jameson, who's really funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just it was an idea I had, and I pitched it to Phil, and we pitched it around a bunch, and we sold it to Adult Swim, which was really cool to work with. Adult Swim is they're like one of my favorite networks from when I
Yeah.
was a kid, and they make really interesting stuff, and they work with people who don't have a ton of credits and who haven't been on TV or anything, and yeah, they were really awesome. They let us we worked on a TV version of it, but it they didn't pick it up, so it never got made, but it was fun to do.
Nice. Was the pitching part of it really hard, or was it how would you describe it?
Honestly, the worst part of it was waiting. Like, I'm very used to writing stuff for the internet where, like, if you have an idea, you can write it up and then you can put it online and people will tell you if they like it within like 20 minutes. And
Oh
with
yeah.
TV, a lot of it is like, they were like, oh, we want to buy this idea. And we're like, great. And then we waited a full year until they let us start working on it. Like, it was just, it's so slow with like contracts and executives and lawyers and managers and agents and all these different people, and it was so tedious for me. I really hated that part of the process, but that's just, that's how it is.
On internet, it's like just instant gratification. You put your thing out there, you get the result. Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, it's yeah, that's the cool thing about posting, doing stuff on the internet, is just people immediately.
Do you still play games?
Do I still play video games? Yeah, all
Yeah.
the time. I've been playing this game Balatro a bunch. It's really
Mm.
fun. It's like a card game. Do you know that
Ooh.
one?
No, I don't play card games personally.
No, I
Uh,
I love those roguelike card games, like Slay the Spire is like one of my favorite games
ooh,
ever.
I have
It's really
played
great.
that. That's a very cool game. But that's the only
If
that
you like that one,
and the Witcher card game are the only card games I've ever played.
sure.
Yeah.
This one is like poker. It's like poker, but you can like change your deck. So like if you are playing a deck that's really good at flushes, you
Mhm.
can like make all of your cards spades so that it's better at it. You know what I mean? It's like a
Yeah,
roguelike poker
I
game.
get what you mean, but
Mm.
that would get very chaotic very fast, right?
Yeah, it's fun. It's a fun game.
Nice.
I love those games.
Yeah. And my last question before we actually part ways is that,
Sure.
and like I think you reposted a review of the new Taylor Swift album. What's your
Did
thoughts
I?
on Taylor Swift and her music and her new album?
I honestly have never really listened to much Taylor Swift, but my friend Giovanni wrote this article that was like,
Ooh, yeah.
it had gone. That was what you're talking about. The thing I
Yeah,
retweeted was,
the the Medium article, yeah.
yeah, it was my friend Giovanni, who I think is super funny and talented, and he does not like Taylor Swift, but he wrote this article that he insists that the new Taylor Swift is like a masterpiece, and that
Yeah.
it is secretly about Taylor Swift hating on her fans, which I thought was really interesting. It's very
Ooh,
well written. I think it's worth checking out. I still have not listened to the album, but I really liked his
my
article about
God.
it.
Okay.
Are you a big Taylor Swift head?
Not really. I just like,
Okay,
I mean, I've listened to the album. The thing is that, and
sure.
I've listened to a lot of her albums, so that's it.
Fair
So
enough.
yeah,
Well, I'm curious to see if you should read his article, because I think it was a
I'll
cool.
definitely read his article. I did see it. I
Yeah.
didn't read it properly.
Yeah, his point is basically he feels that she like doesn't like being famous, that she feels like trapped by her own fame, and that she was forced to like break up with her boyfriend over like
Yeah,
her fans who were mad at him, which is it's an interesting take.
it is an interesting, and like that's like the more growing opinion as well. Like in industry, baby, basically, like you have to do what your fans tell you. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, she has such a like I mean, you're talking about the incel army. If anyone could defeat the
Mm.
incel uprising, it's probably the Swifties.
Oh,
And I'd love to
definitely.
see them clash in a
I
battle of
would pay
arms.
to see like a civil war, basically.
Yes,
Yeah,
I
that would
would
be
love that.
absolutely the top of freedom in America,
Yeah,
pinnacle of freedom in
exactly.
America.
The incels versus the
Yeah,
Swifties.
exactly.
That'd be
So
awesome.
yeah, and
I'd be happy to die in that war.
from what side?
I don't know. I don't know what side I'd be on.
Just
I'd
just
have to
wanna
pick a
be a
side.
martyr in the war for some reason.
Yeah.
But
I'll
I
pick
mean,
one.
like,
Whatever
fair
whatever
enough.
side will have me.
Yeah, whatever
I
salad. You
just want
can
to
you
be
you
in a
can play
club.
both roles basically.
Yeah.
Good, good. So yeah, I wanted to ask you about podcasting, and
Sure.
and how's your format of podcasting, and what do you think of podcasting as a medium?
I like doing podcasts. It's as a stand-up podcasting is like doing stand-up comedy, but easier because you kind of just like hang out with your comedian friends, and if
Yeah,
you make them laugh, then you can't like bomb on a podcast really, like
yeah.
unless you ask if there's Uber in India.
I
But
mean, I don't see Vansh in the meeting, but
that's
yeah,
right. He bailed on me.
he bailed
I'm
on
just
me.
joking. But
Yeah,
yeah, like if you tell a bad joke in stand up and no one laughs, like that sucks. But if you tell a
yeah.
bad joke and like your one friend laughs because he likes you, then it doesn't matter. It's so easy.
The
So
thing is
that's
that
fun to
even on
do.
a podcast, they're your friends. Even if they don't laugh, there's a joke made out of that. So
Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
It's
in
very
in a,
fun
in a
to do.
stand up, in a stand up, this like the audiences cannot bully you for making a bad joke. Not bully, but like they cannot get
Yeah,
back at
no.
you for making a bad joke. Your friends can absolutely. So yeah,
Yeah, exactly. They will bully you. My
yeah.
friend, so on Quarators, I do it with my friend Alex, and he told me recently that his dad started listening to our show, and his dad's
Oh,
only review is that Alex is too mean to me, which I
oh
don't
my
even
God.
I don't even know what that means. But apparently it's an issue on our show as well, is bullying.
Yeah, exactly. But it's a good like a medium to actually bring back long for contact. Not bring back, to be honest, but this long form contact,
Mm.
like long form, fuck it, long form content as opposed to like short form content. But then
For
again, there's
sure.
also this realification of the podcast that we make.
Podcasting.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I
it's also
mean,
a
yeah, it's
double-edged
fun to
sword.
do.
Like the
Mm.
podcast clips on um Instagram Reels. We don't have TikTok, so on Instagram Reels go more viral than the actual podcast itself, and that's
Yeah, it's true.
yeah, the attention
Yeah.
span
Yeah.
issue is very real. So
Yeah, we post a lot of clips on our podcast from people who just never see it, which is kind of interesting to me that
yeah,
people just
and
like respond to like a 10-second version of it.
exactly, yeah,
Um, but yeah, I don't know. It's a weird, the whole
Yeah.
thing is weird. It's a big thing in stand up as well, as people like have been mostly posting clips of their stand up online.
yeah,
But
exactly.
but then they don't want to do their material, so they only do crowd work because they don't want to like run out of jokes. So now
Mm.
all of stand up to a lot of people is like crowd work stand up, where they just like are talking to hecklers. And now like you'll be watching like stand up clips and you're like, that was just a clip of that interesting audience member. That had
Yeah.
nothing to do with whatever the fuck you were talking about.
What if a person isn't drunk there?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like alcohol's banned in Gujarat. What do you do then?
Yeah, then you have no career. You
Yeah,
can't
then
do
you
it.
have half your career is gone.
Yeah, that's then you can't do it there. You
Yeah,
have to do it at a place where people are drunk out of their
exactly.
minds.
And they bully you on stage and all. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's been great talking to you.
Yes.
We're gonna end it here. Vansh, I don't know, has seemed to be disconnected, and Kunal as well.
Yeah.
So
Kunal
we've
Kunal has
we've
lost
we've
his
lost
Wi-Fi.
people. People have been lost in this podcast. It was really fun
Kunal
talking
texted
to you,
me his Wi-Fi ran out in the middle of the podcast.
which is a very Indian stereotype, but yeah, his net stopped working.
Well,
Yeah,
hey, it was very fun to do. Thank you guys for having me. I'm sorry that we had so many casualties in this episode where
yeah.
people dropped
Where
out.
two of our
Yeah.
beloved friends are no longer in the meeting. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks for having me. It was really fun, and
Yeah.
yeah,